everyone. Thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you, surrounded by Duffys, which I can't decide is either a dream or my worst nightmare. Let's go here first. Pat Duffy, our regular.
Yes,
how you doing, man?
Here. Feeling great, thank you.
What are you wearing?
I'm rocking everyone's favorite former pitcher for the Rochester Red Wings, Cole Stewart, my best buddy's jersey, which I love. And here's what I'm going to bother you before you go over there. Jerseys are my thing. Jerseys are my thing. Like, I'm the guy that wears the jerseys, and then all of a sudden I walk in and I see what's happening over here.
And he one-ups you, no less.
Thank you.
Ryan Duffy, how you doing?
I'm doing
Let's Go Duffalo, paired up on...
You can catch it on the Odyssey app and wherever you get your podcasts.
Very good. That's what I wanted to do.
You got it.
Who are you wearing?
I'm wearing a Phil Housley World Juniors USA jersey, esteemed head coach of the Buffalo Sabres.
Former esteemed head coach of the Buffalo Sabres, and esteemed is an exaggeration.
Ooh. Sorry, I got to side with him on both counts. Let's talk some basketball first. NCAAs are over, men's, women's, takeaways.
Exciting as always. Busted right out of the gate for me, but nevertheless, still exciting and always fun to really break into all those games over that long weekend.
I think this was an opportunity, and they took advantage of it. The women's game made such an advance to the point where I think when we hit the final weekend, there were more people paying attention to what happened on their side than the men's tournament.
The women's tournament was so good, they succeeded at the expense of the men's tournament. And look, don't get me wrong, in a bubble, even if the men's tournament was fantastic, that women's tournament would have been amazing. I mean, you have referee scandal, you have two players that don't like each other, and that creates debate. You have the actual games, which are phenomenal. You have an amazing player that doesn't get the job done, which always gets people talking at the end of the season. But the fact that the men's tournament towards the end, and there were some great games, was so anticlimactic. I mean, your champion won every game by at least 13 points in the tournament. They were dominant, and nobody was even talking about them when the tournament started.
They were a 4 seed.
Yes, but they were even a bad 4 seed. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are 4 seeds that go deep in the tournament. Nobody thought UConn was. The fact that the women's tournament was so good and they're going to get all this momentum off it makes the men's tournament look that much worse.
You know, it's going to go back in history, and it's ancient history, but I remember back early doing the show, that's more than 10 years ago, where your point was, I don't watch the women's tournament and I don't like people telling me that I should. You've come full circle.
Well, here's the thing, man. I watch it sparingly now. And I will fully admit, I'm not someone that's going to sit down with a pen and embrace women's basketball.
The 2 games this past weekend are the two very first women's basketball tournament games I've ever watched.
But I think that brings up the point that women's basketball has been trying to make for years, and I guess I didn't really comprehend that exposure changes all of that, right? Like, I was not exposed to how great these games could be because, frankly, they weren't ever on at a time or a channel where I was going to watch them. And now that I've watched them again, I'm not going to go, buy a jersey and sit and watch every game that's on. But when I'm sitting down and watching television, I'm going to put it on.
Yeah, Ryan, are you of the belief that women have reached parity in this sport?
I think so. I mean, if at the very least, the ending of the women's tournament being as historic as it is with LSU breaking the scoring record in the scoring record there, and then with the individual scoring record being broken, like, it's really a historic moment. I think if anything, it's kind of kismet that this is now where it is going to the next level.
First ever kismet record.
Oh, I don't even know what that means. It is funny, like, he's saying all the right things, and he's right. Like, this is like the really sweet, like, oh yeah, scoring record and great games. We would not be talking about any of this, and this is a sad statement, but a true statement, if it wasn't for the drama between the two athletes, and that goes for every sport. When the drama shows up and people start talking, that's when people want to pay attention. It helps.
I could have watched anyway because we were talking last week about it. The Caitlin in Iowa, everyone wanted to see that South Carolina game, and when they advanced, I didn't know that these women hated each other.
Neither did I, but I will ask you this question. We would have watched last week. Would we be talking about it today if it weren't for that drama on the back end?
I do, because I think of the flip side. I think the fact that the men's tournament shook out the way it did with teams that you either didn't know or care about, it was hard to watch it.
No, it's a fair statement. Yeah, I mean, who cares about UConn?
Yeah. Well, that's over. I mean, is this a one and done, or is this what we're now going to get from now on?
I hope it's what we get. I enjoyed the men's tournament so much more when all of the 1 seeds were gone. It felt like it was, like a little extra bonus of like, this is so much fun to watch now that all of the now it's littered with underdogs, so to speak, as far as seeding is concerned.
Yeah. This is the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with the Duffys, and we're talking Buffalo Bills next.
Don't do that.
I have some travel books, Volume 1, Volume 2. You'll be able to get one of these books for free when you buy the new Volume 2 for only $14.95. Contact me at MikeTheGetawayGuy@gmail.com.
Thanks for joining us and welcome back to the Rochester Press Box, our Buffalo Bill segment brought to you by Ralph Honda. For 3 generations celebrating 50 years as New York's first and oldest Honda dealer. Visit Ralph Honda today. Find out how we do Honda right at ralphhonda.com. Can we get Diggs to be quiet?
Why? Okay, here's what I don't get. We just have a discussion about women's college basketball and how great it's been and all the drama and how much attention it's getting. We do several segments a year when talking about how we wish we could get what is inside the heads of athletes. Why don't you be honest? Why don't you be more forthcoming? Why do I have to, decode what you're trying to say? Stefon Diggs is being direct and honest with everybody, and you don't like it all of a sudden.
He left it. It was coded.
What?
It was coded.
What do you mean?
I think I might want to play with the New York Giants, but I'm not sure. And then he takes it back the next day. This whole thing about wide receivers shooting their mouths off, constantly leaving you off balance, bothers me.
I'm with you, and I don't see how it's not like decoded there, or how he's saying on Twitter, "Come and rescue me." Mm-hmm. Now I understand people are connecting stuff wherever they can. I know there's the link to the Giants now and all that stuff. For me, I'm just sick of the drama. Mm-hmm. I understand and appreciate that he's competitive. I know that he wants to win, but when you're mouthing off on the sideline, when you're causing a big stir,
what are you, our dad?
No,
you're mouthing off. You didn't clean your room.
It gives ammunition to the detractors, and that's a huge problem for me.
Detractors don't matter. Go out and win games. Make it work. Look, I said this before, and I'll say it again. And I saw a brilliant tweet by somebody a couple of months ago.
Was it you?
It might have been me. He said, it was something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, people are criticizing Stefon Diggs for running his mouth, but what if he's the canary in the coal mine? And there's no way to figure that out until the end of this season, because what if he's right? How many times, especially in Western New York franchises, have we badmouthed folks for saying things that we thought they shouldn't have said about the team, only 10 years later to go, oh yeah, they had a pretty good point there, didn't they?
I'll give you that, but unfortunately his position historically doesn't really allow for us to give the benefit of the doubt for him there. You look at the constant diva nature of wide receivers in general, this just fuels that fire.
Oh my God, look. You want a primetime wide receiver? You want a guy that's going to catch balls for you and make a difference? You got to deal with this. Name me a single wide receiver that has been dominant, impressive, that didn't do something like this along the lines of his career.
Larry Fitzgerald. Okay,
and what's he got to show for it?
Well, a Hall of Fame career.
Not a Super Bowl ring.
But a Hall of Fame career.
Okay, well,
you only control so much as a wide receiver.
Okay, but let's put it this way. If the Bills don't win a Super Bowl, the Bills were criticized for not winning a Super Bowl last season.
No, I agree with the whole thing. What I'm more interested in is and maybe because, culture wars is right up your alley. Why are wide receivers the guys who, all of you, from Owens to you, again, you name it, those are the guys who are so demonstrative and so vocal.
I think the difference between wide receiver and any other position on the field is they are the one position that does it themselves, that don't have control over what happens. Quarterback can do what he wants, but he controls the ball. The only way that Terrell Owens, Stefon Diggs, we can keep going down the line, get what they need is to make noise to get what they need. Because let's be real, man. Let's say next year, Stefon Diggs comes out and catches 30% fewer balls. Well, that's going to hurt his market for the next contract that he's going to have. I understand advocating for yourself now. Don't get me wrong. I don't love what's happening here, but I'm so sick of this old guy. My son, go play football.
I'm younger than you.
Okay, there you go.
What's that?
I'm younger than you are.
No, but you're both being old guys. You made a commitment.
Credit where credit's due. I agree with your point there as far as why a wide receiver would be a little bit more vocal, because when they do their job and get open and catch the ball, I would understand why you would be a little bit upset as to why you're either not getting the ball or why just in Stefon Diggs' case, as per what he said, not clicking well with the team. I can understand that point, but I think we could both agree that I don't like it. I don't like that it's happening with the Bills.
I just don't understand. You want to be entertained by this, right? We want entertainment in our sports. And when it gets entertaining, and it gets too close to home, whoa.
You're right. It's entertaining when it happens to the Jets or the Patriots. It's not that much fun when it's your team.
But this isn't even a big deal. We're all making a mountain out of a molehill. He's going to be at camp. We're going to play ball. That offense is going to look just fine. Like I've been saying, save the tape. Mark my words. Everything is fine.
By the way, coming up with Larry Fitzgerald with no warning. Very impressive.
Thank you.
Our Buffalo Bills segment brought to you by Ralph Honda, Like It or Not, is next. Here's the Press Box Trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road.
Museum in Corning, New York that gets overlooked all the time. Wait until you see the treasures inside. I'll take you there. Mike O'Brien, your getaway guy. Just look for the Getaway Guy on Facebook.
Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me and the Duffys here on the Rochester Press Box. Our Like It or Not segment is brought to you. You don't have to do that. Our Like It or Not segment is brought to you by Sport Clips, where the experience is better than ever. Sport Clips, the pros and men's hair, no appointment needed. Stop by Rochester for a Rochester location today. The Sport Clips. All right, like it or not, faster play in baseball, which has resulted in a very high level of viewer interest.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I tell myself at the beginning of every baseball season, this is the year I'm going to get into the sport and I'm going to follow it. And so far, a week into the season, I've actually had the longest streak of watching baseball games in my life. I love it. I think it's a lot more fast-paced. I understand there are the detractors of, it's not as, as historic and it's a change and all that stuff. I'm sorry, I'm a huge fan.
You got to be careful. You're talking about Bill Pucko. We call him Billy Old School around here.
Oh, when you want to call him that.
When you want
To my face.
when you want to talk about baseball nerds, I mean, he's the kind of guy that might be upset.
Be fair, I'm on the progressive edge of that.
Even with the game time, 2-hour baseball games, is that too
love
short?
it.
You're good with a 2-hour baseball game?
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. I just like
It's about a half hour shorter. It's funny because it was in the minor leagues. I don't know, 2-3 years prior to them doing it in the major leagues. I never even noticed. I go to a lot of Red Wings games. I didn't even notice. That was just like, that was the game to me.
Sure.
And you like it too.
I love it. I love it.
There's really not much to. Yeah, I think 42%. I think is the ratings increase for televised games in the first week of the season.
Look, the only thing that's criticizable is how did you not do this 20 years ago when every other league was making that move?
What took them so long?
Yeah.
Like it or not, we got the NBA playoffs coming up.
I'm loving the NBA playoffs. I'm loving what's happening in the West with the NBA playoffs. I'm loving the fact that as we tape this now, the Mavericks are not going to make the NBA playoffs after that move with Kyrie Irving. I find myself, even though I have this natural inclination to hate the Lakers for no reason, I find myself cheering for LeBron and Anthony Davis. They're almost like underdogs at this point because of the injuries they've gone through, right? It's almost LeBron's swan song. I find it interesting that the Warriors could be meeting the Sacramento Kings, who are having the best, former Rochester Royals franchise, having the best season maybe in their franchise's history. At least that's the last time they made the finals. Everything is insane. And then when you get over to the Eastern Conference, right, the Celtics have been floundering for the last 2 months. They're still somehow number 2 in the East. Giannis looks unstoppable, but then you see what Embiid does the other night. 50 points. 50 points, scored half his team points on his own. This has been great, drama-filled basketball.
You got teams you like, especially?
That's what's tough right now. In the Western Conference, who the hell knows? I want to like the Kings, but I know because being a Bills fan, and this is kind of similar, they're going to fall on their face at some point. I really like Oklahoma City. I don't know why. I know they've had 20 first-round picks the last 5 years, so they should be good.
You'll get good odds if you want to take that someplace.
If we're talking championship, look, there's 2 teams it rests with. It's the Bucks and it's the Sixers, and I don't think anyone else.
Over Boston. The betting favorite is still Boston.
Look, I think that Boston has gone through too much in the offseason. Everything that happened with the coach, it looks like they righted the ship, but you know this as well as anybody. Good coaching in the NBA doesn't show up in the first 3 quarters of the season. It shows up on the playoff run and in the playoffs, and we'll see if they have what it gets done.
Who do you like, Ryan?
I like the Celtics this year. I'm feeling good about the Celtics, and I think the Lakers are probably going to make a bit of a run too.
Do you think
There's some high-profile basketball writers who like their chances.
That's the Lakers are saying.
Yeah.
Well, look, that's also the bias of LeBron. Now you're making me hate the Lakers again. I was kind of cheering for the Lakers a little bit. It's the LeBron bias, right? It's the same reason why going into the Masters this weekend, there are people legitimately betting on Tiger Woods to do something despite the fact that his leg is falling off.
I'm only cheering for the Lakers at this point because I want to have to hear you struggle through saying LeBron's swan song a few more times.
LeBron's swan song. I talk for a living. Go home.
You do great.
Like it or not, brought to you by Sport Clips. Unfinished Business is next.
The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. Come home to McArdle's.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for Unfinished Business here on the Rochester Press Box. Brought to you by the Genesee Brew House, your beer destination since 2012. Visit the gift shop, enjoy a tasting at our pilot brewery, and dine at the pub-style restaurant at the Genesee Brew House. Unfinished Business, Pat, start us.
There are two worlds of college football, and it was proven this week in an article written in The Athletic. Brilliant idea. Spring games are coming up here, and the author, whose name escapes me, argued that you should be playing your spring games not against inter-squad scrimmages, but against smaller teams in your state. For example, Alabama would play Troy. Auburn would play, give me another example. And it would fill the stadium, give folks that don't have the money to buy regular season tickets an opportunity to watch their team play and give great experience to both sides. It's a brilliant idea. And the fact that Auburn and Alabama and LSU and Florida State could sell out their stadiums, it's almost not even a thought. It's amazing that these fans would have that kind of appetite for college football that didn't matter months before the season started. But it got me thinking, let's say they made this a college-wide, NCAA-wide idea. Would you go see Syracuse play a spring game against a team that doesn't play in their division, a Division II football team, a Division III football team? I love football. I don't think I would go. In fact, up until this season when Syracuse caught a little bit of fire, they were having trouble putting people in the stands for legitimate games against other NCAA powerhouse teams. It is amazing. As soon as you get to Pennsylvania and Ohio, how different it gets for college football versus how it is in the Northeast. And it's something that I can't understand because let's be real here. The Northeast has a great history of college football. It was invented in the Northeast at Rutgers. There have been teams that have won national championships, big-time players that were recruited to big-time schools and made it into the pros. Legendary names. What the heck happened along the way where Alabama, LSU, and Florida State can sell out games against no one, and Syracuse has a hard time selling out against Clemson?
New Buffalo Sabres goaltender Devin Levi has had a great start to his NHL career, notably winning his debut in an overtime game against the New York Rangers. Even with the loss in Sunrise, Florida this week in a critical game against the Panthers, fans who watched the contest could clearly see that the loss was not due to Levi's performance. He stopped several contested shots and even walked off a few breakaway chances from Florida's high-powered offense, something that is a welcome addition to the Sabres team, who many feel have been held back by inconsistent goaltending this season. Now, the loss to the Panthers significantly hurts the Sabres' chances of making the postseason this year, and I know that's a bummer. However, I think it is important for us fans to see that we now have two very capable young netminders in Devin Levi and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen going forward. I wouldn't be surprised to see Levi in Rochester at the beginning of next season, considering the Sabres have Eric Comrie locked up for another year, but there is a bright future for the Sabres between the pipes. And as far as this season goes for the Sabres, they've played meaningful games in March and April, something fans have not been witness to in years. The team has earned back the respect from fans, and there is a lot for us to look forward to, even if it has to, yet again, wait until next season.
Sportsmanship is a lost art. It's been replaced by gamesmanship. This became a topic of cultural concern this week when LSU defeated Iowa in the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship game. The Tigers won by 17. It wasn't close. But tournament MVP Angel Reese had to rub it in a bit, stalking Iowa's Caitlin Clark to make sure that she knew the outcome. Criticism came. There were accusations of racism from her defenders. Clark was guilty of the same behavior, they said. The men do it all the time. Stop. I never quite understood trash talking. Why isn't beating an opponent enough? Did Bill Russell trash talk? Did Wayne Gretzky? Maybe they did. But I know this much for sure. They didn't have to. The national media fell all over itself defending Reese in the name of equal rights. ESPN commentator Courtney Cronin on Around the Horn, in support of Reese, said, quote, "Women are expected to take the high road." Well, what's wrong with that? This is patently sexist, but most men, if they're honest with themselves, believe that women get it right far more often than they do. Women in general are more thoughtful, more empathetic, more reasonable. They're just better people. 50.5% of the United States population is female. The percentage of women currently in federal prison, 6.8%. That's got to tell you something. Ladies, there's no need to stoop to our level. So if you're on the high road, stay there. If not, try taking it. It's easy to spot these days. It's the one less traveled by. That's our Unfinished Business, brought to you by the Genesee Brew House, and that is our show.
Man, leave it to the guy from Boston to say you should leave trash talk out of sports, right? Hey, how do you feel about Larry Bird?
It's fine.
What about Derek Sanderson?
Yeah, it's all fine.
Okay, I love this. It's fine for me, but not for thee?
Brad Marchand?
But there's nothing granted, but there's nothing wrong with not doing it.
Okay, but there's nothing wrong with doing it.
Take the high road.
Get off my lawn.
Take the high road. Guys, thank you. It was a pleasure. It really was.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me, not you.